You've probably seen it 1,000 times, a liquid so clear and still that it's almost invisible in a glass. But have you ever wondered why it is called little water when its history is anything but small? How can something so deceptively gentle, looking exactly like water, hold a 40% alcoholic fire that burns, warms and bites all at once? The real reason hides right in the name. In Russian or Polish, vodka comes from voda, meaning water. Add a soft ending ka, and it becomes little water. Simple, innocent, almost playful. But this little water isn't soft at all. That's its magic, the strength you don't see coming. In a way, vodka was always a paradox, a flame disguised as water.
Today, we're diving into the hidden secret and the surprising story behind one of the simplest things you know. I'm Edward, and this is QC Project Simple Things. To simple things.
If you speak Russian or Polish, the secret of this spirit's nature hides right in its name. Vodka comes from the word voda, which simply means water. But then they add that soft, diminutive ending, ka, and suddenly it becomes little water. It sounds simple, it sounds innocent, it sounds almost playful, like a term of endearment you'd whisper to something precious. But don't let the name fool you, because this little water isn't soft at all. It is a liquid of intense contradictions. It burns, it warms, and it bites. It is the kind of drink that flows down your throat as smooth as silk, yet it leaves a lingering whisper of fire behind. At around 40% alcohol, vodka is just as strong and formidable as any aged spirit, yet its crystal clarity and supernatural smoothness make it feel lighter, almost deceivingly gentle. That is its true magic, the strength you don't see coming. In a way, vodka has always been a profound paradox, a fierce flame cleverly disguised as harmless water. Back in the frost-bitten lands of Eastern Europe, people didn't set out with the intention to create a national symbol or a luxury brand. They were simply trying to survive. When the winter stretched on endlessly, turning the world white, and the great rivers froze solid into paths of ice, they needed something more than just comfort. They needed a drink that could both warm the shivering body and lift the weary spirit. In those frozen reaches, they called it water, because water itself was life. But to take that life-giving water and mix a spark of fire into it, that was genius. That was the birth of vodka. The word stuck long before any modern label or commercial trademark existed. It traveled through centuries, flowing through royal palaces and humble peasant homes alike. It remains a reminder that even the simplest, most innocent words can hold something wild and untamed inside. So yes, officially, vodka means little water. But the moment you taste it, you realize the truth. It's not the water that matters. It is the raw, unyielding burn that lives beneath it. Long before vodka filled crystal glasses in grand celebrations or smoky taverns, it filled the humble wooden shelves of medieval apothecaries. In the Middle Ages, distilled spirits weren't crafted for pleasure or social toasts. They were designed for medicine, born from the urgent need to heal. Doctors and healers of that era reached for this clear liquid to clean open wounds, sterilize primitive instruments, and dull the agonizing pain when nothing else in the world could. It was a true miracle of its time, a liquid that burned the flesh but somehow healed the body. In ancient Russia, specifically within the Chronicles of Novgorod dating back to 1533, this spirit was known by a sacred name, Zhiznenia Voda, or the water of life. Back then, people didn't drink it to lose themselves in drunkenness. They drank it to survive. They drank it to endure the plague of illness, the bone-chilling cold of the tundra, and the heavy weight of grief. They held a profound belief that this liquid could calm raging fevers, fight off invisible infections, and, in the darkest of times, even cure a broken heart's sadness. For nearly 2 centuries, what we now call vodka lived a double life. It was a staple in medical treatments, but it also found its way into the production of gunpowder. Alchemists, the scientists of the old world, mixed this high-proof spirit with sulfur and saltpeter, creating an explosive force that would eventually shape the wars of empires to come.
Isn't it strange, almost poetic, that the very same spirit capable of healing a wound was also used to ignite one?
And yet, even today, modern science gives a quiet, respectful nod to those early ancient beliefs. When consumed in moderate amounts, vodka has been shown to improve heart health, reduce the toxins of stress, and keep arteries clear. It remains a powerful antiseptic, still used today in remote corners of the world where medical alcohol runs short. It is low in calories, a clean and lean form of indulgence, perhaps the lightest spirit a human can consume. But in the 1500s, none of that was about science or calories. It was purely about survival. They called it the water of life because, in the coldest, harshest corners of the earth, it truly was. It was a drink that burned, healed, and gave hope, a constant reminder that even in the deepest darkness, there is always a drop of light left to pour.
Every spirit in this world begins with a touch of chaos.
A wild mix of grains, water, heat, and the slow passage of time. But vodka? Vodka begins with an obsession for balance. It starts, simply enough, with the fruits of the earth, grains like wheat, rye, or corn, sometimes even potatoes, grapes, or sugar beet molasses. But here is the secret. In the world of vodka, the recipe doesn't matter nearly as much as the process, because what truly defines vodka isn't what you put in, it's what you have the patience to take out. To create this liquid diamond, distillers must master the fire. They heat the fermented mash until the alcohol rises as a delicate vapor. Then they cool it, condense it, and refine it again, and then again. It is a relentless pursuit of perfection. Each distillation removes the unwanted impurities, and each stage of filtration, whether through charcoal, quartz sand, or even the brilliance of diamond dust, strips away everything that is heavy, harsh, or impure. What remains at the end of this journey is absolute clarity. A spirit so clean, so quiet, and so transparent that it barely leaves a trace upon the world. And then came the moment where spirit met pure science. In the 19th century, a Russian chemist named Dmitry Mendeleev, the same genius who mapped the universe's elements in the periodic table, turned his brilliant mind to the chemistry of alcohol and water. He wasn't looking for strength. He was looking for harmony. He discovered that the perfect soul of this drink came from a precise proportion. 40 parts ethanol, 60 parts water. He described it as a dance between fire and stillness, a marriage of 2 opposites in one glass. Mendeleev called it the ideal solution. The Russian government simply called it vodka. That is why, when you hold a glass of high-quality vodka today, it feels almost like you are drinking light itself. It is smooth, neutral, and deceptively silent, yet strong enough to remind you of its presence the moment it touches your soul. It is chemistry turned into clarity, fire, water, and infinite patience, balanced to absolute perfection. Many people think that vodka is just a colorless drink, a simple spirit with no soul. But in the heart of its homeland, vodka was never just a drink. It was history itself, poured into a glass, shared between friends, and remembered through generations. For centuries, the Russian people didn't even call it vodka. They called it bread wine. It was crafted from the very same grains that kept them alive through the brutal, never-ending winters. In those dark times, when food was scarce and the world was white with snow, bread fed the weary body, but it was the bread wine that fed the spirit. Under the absolute power of the Tsars, vodka became more than just a cultural staple. It became a shadow currency. In the 1500s, Tsar Ivan the Terrible recognized its power and turned its production into a state monopoly. By the 1800s, this clear liquid was so vital that taxes on vodka supplied up to 40% of Russia's entire national revenue. In every glass poured, from the poorest hut to the grandest palace, the empire found both its profit and its power. But history, much like the spirit itself, can burn. Following the Russian Revolution of 1917, private distilleries were seized by the state. Master distillers, the keepers of centuries-old secrets, were forced to flee into the night, carrying nothing but their recipes, their copper stills, and their unshakable pride. One of them, Vladimir Smirnov, son of the legendary distillery's founder, escaped to France and revived his family's legacy in Paris in 1934. That was the moment the ghost left its home. That was how vodka escaped Russia and began its journey to conquer the world. By the mid-20th century, this drink of peasants had spread to the West, reaching America as a curiosity before becoming the heart of global icons like the Bloody Mary, the Moscow Mule, and the Screwdriver. The water of life had transformed into a universal spirit of luxury. Yet back in its homeland, it remained something much deeper. During World War II, when victory was finally within reach, Moscow celebrated so fiercely that within just 3 days, every single bottle of vodka in the city had vanished. No toast, no ration, and no victory felt truly complete without it. Even in modern times, the legend persists through hardship. In 1998, during a devastating economic collapse, teachers in the frozen reaches of Siberia were paid their salaries not in money, but in vodka, 15 bottles per person for 2 months of work. Because when the banks failed and the currency lost its value, vodka still meant something. It was warmth, it was memory, it was Russia itself, liquid, clear, and absolutely unbreakable. Today you will find this clear spirit everywhere, adapting to every corner of the globe with its unique, quiet grace. It has travelled from the frost-covered huts of its ancestors to the most sophisticated tables of the modern world. Whether it is served traditionally with blini and salty caviar in the heart of a Moscow home, or elegantly shaken into a vibrant cosmopolitan under the dazzling neon lights of New York, vodka remains exactly what it has always been. A silent, transparent witness to the entire spectrum of human experience. It is there for the struggle, and it is there for the celebration. Each version of its modern use keeps a trace of its deep origin story. In the bustling bars of the West, it is the invisible backbone of the cocktail world, lending its strength without ever overshadowing the flavors it touches. But back in the land where it was born, the act of drinking it remains a sacred ritual, a way to measure the depth of human connection. In Russia, they have a saying that captures the very essence of this spirit. A single shot is for friendship, the second for truth, and the third is for the soul. It is a drink that doesn't just fill a glass, it fills the space between people, turning a simple moment into a memory that lasts forever. I want to give you the 10-second rule. This is the fastest way to tell if the glass in your hand is a masterpiece of historical distillation or just a harsh industrial imitation. The next time you are served a shot of vodka, I want you to spend those 10 seconds not as a drinker, but as an expert. First, spend a moment looking at the clarity as you swirl the liquid. High-quality vodka, filtered through charcoal or even diamond dust, should be as transparent as a diamond, leaving no oily residue or legs on the glass. Second, take a slow breath of its aroma. A true water of life should never attack your nose with a sharp medicinal sting. Instead, you should detect a faint, creamy sweetness, the ghost of the grain it was born from. Finally, take a tiny sip and let it rest on your tongue. In just 10 seconds, you aren't just guessing, you're reading the DNA of centuries of craft. Real vodka doesn't just burn your throat, it warms your entire soul from the inside out, exactly as it did for those trying to survive the frozen winters of the past. So, should you look at vodka as just a simple, colorless drink? It depends on what you value: the burn, the taste, or the story. In Russia, they say the first shot is for friendship, the second for truth, and the third is for the soul. To me, vodka is a profound reminder that beauty often hides in the details we overlook. It teaches us that you don't need to be loud or colorful to be powerful, you just need to be pure. Sometimes the simplest things, like a clear liquid in a glass, have the deepest roots and the fiercest stories to tell. It is a spirit that burned to heal and survived to celebrate. If you enjoyed this journey into the surprising world of little water, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this video with someone who loves discovering the hidden stories behind simple things. Also, make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a single episode from us. Tell us in the comments what simple thing you'd like us to explore next. We might feature your idea in the next story.
I'm Edward, and thank you for watching QC Project Simple Things.
Remember, history often hides in the smallest details, and every simple thing has a secret waiting to be told. Stay curious, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next story.